foodies! Today we'll be making strawberry shortcake 2 different ways. The first way is from my Gigi Girls or my great grandmother's cookbook, and the second way will feature healthier alternatives. So our original recipe calls for shortening, and that's 1/3 a cup. And then to substitute that for our healthier alternative, we're going to use applesauce, and I went ahead and used 1/4 a cup for that to translate it. And then our original recipe also calls for 2 cups of flour. For alternative recipe, I also use 2 cups of flour, but the alternative is whole wheat flour. And then for both recipes, we're going to be using our imitation vanilla, or you can go ahead and use real vanilla, baking powder, some butter. They only had sweet cream. Make sure you get unsalted. Our strawberries, a quart of strawberries. Our milk, we will be using 3/4 a cup. And for our whipping cream, there's not exactly a measurement in the book, so we're just going to eyeball that one. And then for salt, we're going to use 1 teaspoon, and then we're going to use 1 cup of sugar, and then 2 tablespoons of sugar for 2 different instances. So the first thing we're going to do is wash and slice our strawberries. Now that we got our strawberries all washed and sliced up, we're going to go ahead with the first step, which is to make our topping. The recipe does call for 1 cup of sugar. To me, this is a lot, so I'm going to stick to the recipe this time, but I do suggest you half this, or go ahead and use a sugar substitute such as honey. Stevia could work, but I do hear that it does increase glucose tolerance, so I'm not too sure about that. More research needs to be done, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead with that whole cup of sugar and mix that on in. And it says let it sit for an hour, so that's gonna just soak and turn into a syrupy strawberry mix. Now we're gonna start our biscuits. So the first thing it tells us to do is mix in our flour. So for the original recipe, like I said before, we're gonna use that regular white flour. Just dump that in a bowl. And next it tells us flour, our sugar. So 2 tablespoons of sugar, just go ahead and dump that in there too. Next up is the baking powder. Yeah, that's good. Alright, and then it says throw in our shortening and our butter, and we're going to try to blend those together. So it doesn't specify how much butter, so I just went ahead for the stick, but if you would like, you can go ahead and break that in half. So next we're just gonna break those together, stir everything up until it comes out like a biscuit mixture, And we're going to use 3/4 cups of milk. Yeah. So I'm going to just go ahead and pour that in. And I'm also going to throw in a tablespoon of salt. You could have done that earlier, but it doesn't really matter. Oh, a teaspoon, excuse me. A tablespoon would be a lot, so yep. Just a little salt. put that to the side, and I'm gonna go ahead and knead this because that's what it calls for. All right. Now we're about to get our original dough together. So I'm just gonna throw, you know, a little flour down. Even though this is parchment paper, everybody I know and that I've seen bake has thrown flour down before they did anything. So we're gonna keep it that way, because that's how Gigi girl would have did it, and that's how we're gonna keep it. So we're just gonna throw our dough down here. And good old Betty Crocker told us to roll this into a 1/2 inch thickness. So I'm also gonna throw a little flour on our rolling pin, because that's how we do it around here. Even though this is like a non-stick situation, we still gonna throw some flour on it, because rather be safe than sorry. Right? So here we go. Oh, see, nothing's sticking. I don't know if that's the flour or just the pin, but it's working. So get that dough rolled down, and this is mostly an eyeball thing because I don't know how 1/2 inch of dough looks exactly, but I think this is good. So yeah, gonna sit that in the front. And since I don't know where the cookie cutter thing is, I'm just gonna use our measuring cup to measure out our biscuits, because improvisation is what we know best. Okay. Then I'll get this right back together. Ball it down, roll it. A little more flour. Look, I'm putting some work in. Okay. Roll it once more. I'll get a couple more biscuits out of here. Alright, that's good. Alright, and if you still have dough left over, which you should, because this is the recipe, unless you change anything, you can get as many out of it as you'd like. So I'm gonna go for like probably 1 or 2 more. And this is like my first time making fresh from dough, scratch biscuits. I'm used to making cornbread all the time, which I do make fresh from scratch, but it's a lot different. Well, not a lot, but a little different from making biscuits. So I think this might be my last one. Oh yeah, that's the last one. And this can just, yeah, that can just be our little ugly biscuit on the side. Alright, so after all that, you should have 3, 6, 9 biscuits. Now for our healthier alternative version of this recipe, we're going to go ahead and start with our 2 cups of whole wheat flour. Go ahead and just dump that in the bowl. Throw that to the side. Our sugar, we're using 2 tablespoons, but if you want to, you can go ahead and half this because those strawberries are pretty sweet. So, and then next we have our baking powder. Dump that in there. And we have our teaspoon of salt. If you want to, you can also half that. And for our shortening alternative, we have our applesauce. I went ahead and used 1/4 a cup because that's what I translated it or converted it to, like on a Google app or whatever, just to use that instead of the shortening. And then for our butter, I'm going to use the whole stick, but if you feel like half a stick will be better for you and your dietary needs, then go ahead and do that. So again, like we did on the last one, all that together, and we're gonna mix that into a crumbly mix like before. This is the crumbly whole wheat mixture. So next, I'm just gonna get my almond milk together. Still use 3/4 of a cup. There we go. Pour that right on in. I'm going to use this one more time before I use my hands. You can get straight into it if you want to, or you don't even need the spatula if you don't want to use it. Okay, just so that water is soaked up a little bit. And now I'm going to go ahead and knead it like I did the other one. Now that we're done kneading, we're gonna go ahead and throw our biscuits into our preheated oven set at 450. Now we have our original recipe all set out on the pan. Our ugly biscuit didn't make it to the pan, but it's gonna be on the side. It'll make it inside the oven. A different way that you can also do this recipe is putting it in some cake sheets so it keeps its form, but you don't have to keep rolling everything. So I'm gonna just go ahead and take, you know, some little chunks and just roll them up and throw them in there so they keep their form, and you don't have to worry about making a whole mold for them like we did before. So yeah, just keep rolling, sitting it in there. Alright, and so for our whole wheat biscuits, we got 7 out of that mixture. But that wasn't as precise as, you know, just cutting those out. Alright, now that we got our biscuits all together, we're going to go ahead and throw them in the oven. I'm going to put the wheat biscuits on top and the normal ones on bottom. And we can just have our ugly biscuit all the way at the top because that takes a little bit more time to cook. We're going to let that stay in there for 10 to 12 minutes, and we're going to go ahead and make our whipped cream. Now we're going to make our sweetened whipped cream. I'm going to go ahead and sub out the regular sugar for powdered sugar just because I normally use those with my icings, but regular sugar is completely fine. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and measure out a cup of our heavy cream. the side. And pour that right in our bowl. Now we have a lot of biscuits, so the original recipe calls for 1 cup of heavy cream and 3 tablespoons of sugar, but I'm gonna go ahead and double it just to make sure all of our biscuits get cream. All right, go ahead and set this to the side. And we're gonna get our powdered sugar. One, 2, and 3. And since we're doubling it, we're gonna do it 3 more times. If you want, or if you feel like this would be enough for you, then you can go ahead and stop at the original 3. But I'm trying to stay as close to the recipe as possible, and we can also use less. And if you have a hand mixer, you're just gonna go ahead and use it. If you don't, you're gonna have to stir really fast to whip this. I've done it before, so it's doable, but a hand mixer is always easier. So let me make sure that this is on. Yes, it's definitely on. So this is how everything should look unmixed. Hopefully nothing flies everywhere. All right, settle that at the bottom. So this is our final product after we mix for like 30 seconds or so on turbo. So as long as needed for it to get somewhat of a like thicker texture than what we started with, or however you like your whipped cream. So I feel like this is good enough for me. So it's almost time to take our biscuits out, and we're gonna go ahead and put everything together. Alright, now that we got our biscuits done baking, I already started cutting a few, but you're going to take your biscuit, set it on its side, and cut straight down the middle. And it's falling apart, which is a great thing. You don't want any biscuits. I'm going to demonstrate one more. So this is how it should come out. Yep. Beautiful, falling apart, nice and flaky-ish. Alright, and then I'm gonna do 3 of our whole wheat biscuits. If it falls apart, it's okay. That just means it's nice and moist and ready to be eaten. Alright. Grab this one. Cut it in half. Yeah, that looks great. Alright, now we're about to dress our biscuits up. So the original recipe calls for us to butter our biscuits, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So go ahead and get your brush or a spoon, however you like to butter your biscuit, and go across it at the top. Move that top in the middle, and I don't think that we need too much. And if you want to, you can go ahead and do the whole wheat, but if you know you're not supposed to be using excess butter then go ahead and skip it, because it's pretty tender or moist already, and I've tried it and it's pretty good. So the next thing we're gonna do is get a layer. It doesn't matter, strawberries or whipped cream. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the whipped cream. Get a nice big spoon and dollop that right on. Do one more. Oh yeah, I went overboard with that one, but you get the point. And then you're gonna dollop one more. Yep. And then we have our strawberries. So that's how they came out after an hour or so. You see the syrup from all that sugar that we used. And you're gonna go ahead and take the spoon and pour that right on top. Ooh yeah. It's a lot of berries, a lot of syrup. All right, and you're gonna do the same with your whole wheat. All right, and then we're gonna put those right on top. And then you're gonna dollop a little bit more, because that's how we have in the, yep, the picture, oops. The picture has it the opposite way, but you get the same taste. All right. And at this point, you can use as much or as less as you want. I'm just going with the flow right now, whatever works. All right, and yep, there you have it. Our 2 strawberry shortcakes, one that was made originally with the Betty Crocker recipe, and the second with our alternative whole wheat, no shortening recipe. Oh, so we're done. All right, so okay. Close your eyes. Okay, close your eyes. Eyes are closed. Okay. This is the first one.
I got you, big mouth.
Okay, that's the first one. Let me know when you're done. Ready?
Alright, ready? Big mouth. You got it? Mm-hmm. Can you tell which is which? Mm-hmm. Which one did you like better? Well, which is which?
Okay. The first one is over here. But I like the first one better because the second one...
Open your eyes. Where are you pointing? So which one was the first one?
This one's the first one.
No, it's